And also in my experiences, oh my God. Hi everyone, it's Liz. I hope you're all doing well. A little while ago, I did a shout out over on my Instagram stories and asked my followers what they most wanted to know about bra making. I had a lot of responses, so to keep this short-ish and sweetish, I have grouped all of the questions into a kind of FAQ. The first most commonly asked question was, for a relatively new sewer, what would I recommend to start with? Personally, I would start with a fairly supportive bralette pattern, something like the Barrett bralette by Madeline, which actually is a free pattern. Bralettes tend to be a little bit more simple to sew than underwired bras, and in my experience they don't quite have the same fitting issues. They're also a good way to get used to the types of fabrics you'll need to use in lingerie making. Also good practice for applying elastics and getting used to sewing with small seam allowances. The good thing is that you don't necessarily need to have that much knowledge of what type of lingerie fabrics you're going to need. You can easily buy bralette kits from places like Etsy, eBay, Sewing Chest. They all have bralette kits in stretch and non-stretch that you can use for the most commonly found bralette patterns out there. There are even kits out there specifically for the Barrett bralette. So if you go to Google and type in Barrett bralette kit, you'll definitely find something that you can use. There were questions around what my favourite patterns are. For bralette patterns, I really like the Barrett bralette pattern that I've just mentioned, and I like that it's free. It's also quite supportive, so even if you are bigger chested, you might find that it still works for you. I also like the Exo bralette by Evie Love and the Romy bralette by Olulu Sews. They're both patterns that you need to pay for. For wired bras, my favourite pattern is the Black Beauty by Emerald Erin. This one just fits me perfectly, so it's my go-to. There were also plenty of questions around where to buy supplies. I tend to get all of mine from sewingchest.co.uk, Beware, which is over in Sweden, and they have really lovely sets that all colour coordinate, so they have like the same colours in various different fabrics and elastics. I also buy stuff from Stitch Bubble, which is on eBay, and the Bra Shop, which is on Etsy, and I believe they're owned by the same person. In terms of laces, I'll buy those from Lava's Lace and the Place for Lace on eBay, and I've also picked up bits and bobs from Fit to Sew as well. I think one of the things that puts a lot of people off the idea of making a bra is how easy it is to get a good fit. There's no really good answer to this, I would say. For me personally, I've used bras that have needed like 5 muslins to get close to a good fit, and then I've tried bra patterns where I've made my ready-to-wear size out of the packet and it's just fitted me. So I think a lot of it depends on what block the pattern maker uses and how close that might be to your anatomy as it stands. But I think it's like anything really. I mean, very rarely does someone make something straight out of the pattern packet and it fits them. You get better at knowing what modifications you're probably going to need to make to a pattern, and bra making's no different. For example, I know I will always need to take 3 inches out of the leg of a pair of jeans or trousers, or in fact just anything, because I'm short, so 3 inches is like a standard amount that I need to take out. And usually if I look at a bra pattern and the bridge is fairly wide, I will know that I'm probably going to need to take at least 1 centimetre out of the centre of the bridge, because I have quite a narrow chest. So yeah, it does take some fitting, and if you're making one for the first time, it's likely not to fit until you've gone through the process a couple of times. In the bra that I'll put a picture of up here, I actually made about 5 different toiles of this one and I couldn't get it to fit me very well. However, the Black Beauty, I made it in a 32C straight out of the packet, which is my ready to wear size, and it fitted me perfectly. So it really is a little bit of a gamble. It does depend on quite a lot of factors, so it depends how well the wire that fits you works for the pattern that you want to use, and also how well the style that you choose works for your breast profile. So it can definitely be a process, but ultimately I think it's worth it, especially if you struggle to find ready-to-wear bras that you either like or that fit you. But it is worth noting that once you have a pattern that you like and that fits you well, you can actually adapt it in many different ways. You can change the seam lines, you can change the cup style, and you can really make it your own. So you only ever need to find that one pattern that works really well for you. And once you have that pattern, you can treat it like a basic block and you can adapt it any way that you choose. People have asked me whether I think it's really worth it going through all the hassle of making the toiles, but bra making just really speaks to me. And I think you're either a person who really likes the idea of bra making, or you're a person who thinks it's a massive faff and can't be bothered. And I definitely fall into the first camp. I love bra making. I can't even really describe why it speaks to me so much. Plenty of people have asked me why I bother, why I love it so much. Don't know. Couldn't tell you. Just really do love it. And I don't think you should be put off by the idea of having to fit a bra, because once you have that bra that fits you, that bra pattern that fits you, you'll go back to it time and time again. For places you can go for advice on how to fit a bra, Liz Sews, who I've mentioned in my videos before, has an absolutely amazing channel that covers everything you could think of when it comes to bra fitting, bra sewing, adapting bra patterns. So if you've never come across her channel before, go and give it a look. There's also an excellent group on Facebook called Bra Makers from Beginners to Intermediate, and that's a really safe space for putting up pictures of yourself wearing muslins and tester bras that you've made, and the members there often very kindly give their time to tell people what modifications they could make to make the bra fit better. I was also asked if I have any tips on sewing with the tiny seam allowances and whether it's as fiddly as it looks, and the short answer is yes, it's really pretty fiddly when you first start. But when I was just first starting out, I did a few things that kind of helped me keep everything in place. So to start with, I did a lot of hand basting with just a needle and thread, and that would help me keep all of the layers together while I was sewing them using my sewing machine. I've also tried using special glue sticks and spray adhesive that you can get for quilting. Personally, I don't like the spray adhesive. It comes out kind of stringy and it ends up going everywhere and it sticks you bits to your mat, and then when you try and peel them off they all get all like disfigured and stuff, so I wouldn't recommend that personally. But the glue sticks are okay, but I think you can't really go wrong with a bit of hand basting. One cool thing that I did find is water soluble thread, and it's absolutely ingenious. So you can use it either for hand basting, which is great because then you only have a single line of thread that will dissolve on contact with water, or you can use it in the bobbin of your sewing machine. The only issue with using it in the bobbin of your sewing machine is obviously you're going to have one long thread that sort of peels away once the bobbin thread dissolves, and if you are top stitching on top of that you can end up like with stringy bits of thread kind of poking out. So personally, I would tend to use it for hand basting, and I do have a further tip, which is not to lick the end of the thread when you go to thread it into your hand needle, because obviously it's going to dissolve. What I will say is that I don't really use those techniques much anymore, because once you have some experience with it, your muscle memory just sort of kicks in and you learn where to hold things and where to pin or clip things to keep all the layers together. So practice really does make perfect in that respect. There were a couple of questions asking if you need any special equipment like machine feet or anything like that. Not really, but a walking foot's quite helpful, especially when it comes to sewing lots of layers of slinky fabric together. It just stops any warping or stretching of the top layer. But other than that, if you've got a sewing machine that will do a zigzag and a straight stitch, you should be good to go. The only other thing that might be useful is a 1/4 inch foot if you're not very practiced with sticking to a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Someone asked what the trickiest part of bra sewing is, and in my experience it's the precision needed. So you have really small seam allowances obviously, and sometimes you're being asked to top stitch within like a millimetre of the edge. So yeah, it's definitely the precision that you need, especially for things like sewing underwire channeling into the seam allowance. It's not very forgiving if you tend to go a little bit wavy. But it's the type of thing that can only come with practice. I could still be better. Someone mentioned that they want to start sewing bras, but they're really confused about what all the different fabrics are for all the different parts of the bra. And my advice is to just buy a kit. Most retailers out there will sell bra kits for specific bra patterns. Buying a kit or some kits is a really good way to start learning about all the different types of lingerie fabrics that are out there, and also building yourself a little stash. I was also asked how you work out what wire size you need. So the easiest way to do this is with one of these, which is a flexi curve. And what you'll basically do is lift your boob up, find the root of your breast, which is where your breast tissue meets your chest, and you'll measure along that curve. And for most people, it probably looks something like that. And then what you can do is print out wire charts from most places that stock underwires. They should have a chart for each different style of wire, and you can figure out which one most closely matches your breast curve. And then what you should probably do is order the one that you think matches and order a size above and a size below. They shouldn't be sticking in the side of your boob. They shouldn't be lying on your breast tissue. They should cup your breast nicely underneath without digging in anywhere, basically. Actually finding the wire is one of the first steps in fitting your bra. So you will find the wire that fits you, and then you will adjust your pattern to fit the wire, and that really is bra making 101. So if you head over to Liz Sew's channel, she has a video on how to do this, which I'll link to below. So I think that's it for the Q&A section. If you have any further questions, please feel free to leave me a comment down below and I'll try and answer it. But now let's go over to my lingerie and bra making stash and have a little root through my drawers. Hi everyone, so here we are at my glorious lingerie and bra making stash. I keep everything in these drawers, and these are labelled with what the drawers contain. Obviously, you've got 2 drawers full of elastics and 2 drawers full of bra stuff. So in this drawer I have all of my bralette band elastics. These are all plush back elastics that are fairly wide, to give me support underneath a bralette. They can also double up as just waistband elastic actually. So if you're looking for this type of stuff, you need to put plush waistband elastic into eBay or into Google, and that'll get you what you need. You're looking for plush back elastic because it's much more comfortable against the skin. I know that Prim, I believe, does a lot of waistbands in this kind of soft touch elastic. So yeah, these are very good for making bralettes with. Not so useful for bra making though, not for underwired bras so much. Also in this drawer, I have a little stash of underwires. I have a wire that I really like to use, which is from Sewing Chest, and it's the BW3, and I find that this one is the one that fits in the Black Beauty the best, and also happens to fit my breasts really well as well. I also have a set of wires that's very similar in profile to the BW3, style 8. But I have these stashed away with the intention of making a long line strapless bra, and you could probably see that these are more of a U-shaped than these ones, which are a little bit shallower, and the U-shape should hopefully just help to support things a little bit more in the strapless style. And then in the same box as my underwires, I tend to keep my underwire channeling just so that I can see how much I've got left at a glance. A roll like that would do several bras, and that doesn't, you know, that only costs like a couple of quid, so it's not very expensive. A tip for you, if you are going to buy underwires and you're going to stock several different sizes, when you get them, make sure you put them in envelopes. Kelly from Sewing Chest already sends them in these little paper-backed envelopes. Make sure that you write on them what size you got, what style you got, and if you try them in a bra and it works really well, make a note of that on the packet as well. Don't do what I did and buy loads of different styles, try them on, and then not actually know which size and style they are, because you'll end up with a load of loose underwires that you can't really use. And they're also useless to anyone that you might pass them on to, because even if they fit them, they won't ever be able to buy the same one again. So just consider that a lesson from someone who's learned the hard way. My second drawer of elastics, one thing that I would love to get around to doing is putting all of my elastics on pieces of cardboard, but I just can't seem to find the time to do it. So my current system is to keep all of my types of elastic together in one sandwich bag, basically. So this is all my strap elastic. I only ever tend to buy the same width of strap elastic, so I tend to buy 10mm strap elastic, and that just simplifies things for me because I don't have a particularly large chest, so I find that 10mm strap elastic holds me up pretty well. And then that means that I only need to buy one size of rings and sliders ever, in lots of different colours and finishes. One of the reasons why I only stock black and white pretty much is because I actually hand dye white bra straps and white elastics if I want a different colour, and I'll talk about that in a bit. Then the only other elastics that you need when it comes to bra making are, you need a band elastic, and that again is plush back, but it tends to be about 3/4 of an inch wide, and it's plush on the back, and you might get plain edge, but quite often you'll get like loopy edge or picot edge. I don't know if my camera is going to focus on it or not under these light conditions. And then I keep neckline and knicker elastic, so this is the type of elastic that goes either along the neckline of a bra or along the underarm edge of the bra, and that just stops everything gaping and falling out at the top, obviously. So they're the three main types of elastic that you would need for bra making: strap elastic, band elastic, and neckline elastic. And then the last type of elastic that I use a lot is fold over elastic. So fold over elastic is a type of elastic that has a natural place where you can fold it down the middle of the elastic, and you apply this to edges. So you can apply this around the legs of knickers and around the waistband of knickers. In bra making, you can use it for bralettes. It stabilises the edges of the cups. What I also keep in here is something I call my Frankenstein bag. So this has tons of odds and ends of elastic that's not quite enough to make a full bra out of. So that, you can see that wide elastic there wouldn't quite be enough to go around me and make a bralette out of. So what I do is I just save these pieces up in here. There's some underwire casing there out of an old bra I've picked apart. So you can see there that there's two bits of the same type of elastic, and while neither of them are really big enough to make a bra band out of, if I zigzagged those together I'd get a bra band out of them. And what I use these bits and bobs of elastic for is to make Frankenstein bras. So if I need to make a muslin of a bra that I've never made before, I won't use all my good stuff. I'll cobble something together using my Frankenstein bits and see whether it fits, and if it fits then I can go for it and make the final thing. So that's all of my elastics. Moving on to the bra stuff drawers. This is where I keep all of my stretch fabrics. So I have a little bag containing lots of different odds and ends of lace. The brightly coloured laces you can see in here, I actually hand dyed myself, and I dyed the yellow one using food colouring, and the pink and the turquoise colour were dyed using acid dyes. It's really easy to dye nylon based lingerie fabrics and elastics. They take acid dyes very well. Polyester, less so. I have tried to dye some polyester elastic before and it didn't really take. All you need to do is add boiling water, the acid dye and some acid, unless it's an all-in-one dye that contains the acid. To use acid, it's literally just vinegar or citric acid, so lemon juice, or you can get citric acid crystals, which is what I use. And then you can either heat it in the microwave or you can heat it on the stovetop in a pan that you don't normally use for your own cooking, because don't use chemicals in your cooking pan. I learned to do this because I used to dye yarn and it's easy to do for lingerie, so I would recommend it. One thing that I do is in my stretch laces, I actually buy loads of this bog standard white stretch lace from my local haberdashery place. I buy this, I buy loads and loads of meters at a time, and then I can just dye it whatever colour I want. And that's why I only stock two colours of elastic, black and white, because once I get either food colouring or acid dyes, I can mix the colours that I like and dye it myself. In terms of laces, I buy this stuff which is called galloon lace, and I always buy stretch versions of it. And the reason for this is that when you buy stretch lace, you can actually make it into rigid lace quite easily by adding a rigid bra liner underneath it. So you can use this very easily with foam cups or with bra tulle or bra net, which I'll come onto in a bit. So yeah, I have lots of different galloon laces. This gorgeous one, I wish I'd actually got around to using it at Christmas because it's just perfect. It's this bright red with like a gold running through it. Beautiful. Yeah, so I have lots of different styles of galloon lace. I have my skull galloon lace, which I got from Etsy, from a shop called Well Trimmed. Love that one. And I also have this yellow one, which again I dyed myself, was white. And then I have that same white one that I got, I have it in basic black as well. And then I also keep bits and bobs of narrow lace trim as well. This one was actually used for trimming the tops of the camisole that I made for Sleepwear Week on the Sewing Bee. I have some continuous yardage of stretch lace as well, which is useful for things like bodysuits and making knickers out of. Other stretch fabrics that I keep, I always keep scuba, because scuba is excellent for making bralettes out of. It's really stretchy, and this is one that I'd recommend people to experiment with if they're going to dip into the world of making bralettes. You can pick this up for a couple of quid a metre on eBay. In fact, I think that's where this one was from. And it doesn't fray, so you can cut it and not worry too much about fraying edges, which also makes it fairly easy to sew. And you can make it single layer, so you don't need to worry about using lining fabrics, because again it doesn't fray. So I've actually made the Barrett bralette before with a single layer of scuba, and it worked absolutely fine. In fact, it was made out of this teal coloured scuba, and it's still one of my favourite bralettes to date. So I would well recommend anyone who's going to get into sewing bras, try experimenting with scuba. This is some stretch bra tulle, which obviously it looks a little bit like lace, but it's just very fine sheer mesh. Stretchy mesh with a dot running through it. It's only stretchy in one direction. And then other bits and pieces, I have some beige coloured suplex, and this is for making some no-show underwear actually, but I've not got round to it yet. The penultimate stretch fabric. This is what we make the back bands of bras out of, and this is called Power Net. And this is on the wing of this bra. So if I hold this up, the back band is made out of Power Net, and Power Net usually comes in a couple of weights. So I do have here some, this is medium weight, so this is still really quite stretchy but quite firm, and this is what they use in shapewear. And then I have some really heavyweight Power Net, which is a lot more difficult to stretch. You do need to use this really on the back bands of bras because it just helps keep everything in position. Not so much for bralettes, but definitely for underwired bras, you will need strong Power Net. You can buy Power Net by the metre, and 1 metre will last you literally forever. I lose track of how long ago I actually bought these Power Nets, but I've barely used any of them. And then the last stretch fabric that I always keep a stock of is lightweight stretch mesh. I go through loads of this because it's really good for lining stretch bralettes. It's good for using on making underwear. I will often make underwear that has like a mesh back panel or side panels. Surprisingly breathable as well. I don't have any issues. One thing I would say is that not all stretch meshes are made equal. So I have bought cheaper stretch meshes before where once they've been cut and gone through the wash several times, all the little spandex threads that run through it have started coming out at the seams and caused it to go hairy, and you might have seen that with some ready-to-wear underwear that you might have had in the past. So yeah, they're not all made equal. I'd recommend trying to shop around and getting some from somewhere reputable. So I keep that in several different colours. I've got it in a beige colour, and then I have it in white as well, and white does pick up dye in the same way that the elastics and laces will do, so I keep white because I can dye small amounts of stretch mesh to the colour that I desire. And then I also have some patterned. I love this one. I did see a lingerie maker using this before and I was like, I have to get some of that. All of the stretch fabrics that I tend to keep in my drawers, in my lingerie stash. There's also a little shout out to be made for your average stretch jersey as well. So cotton lycra jersey, useful for making undies. You can make bralettes out of it. It's fairly inexpensive. Make sure you get some with some lycra content, otherwise it will have no recovery. If you don't know what recovery means, it's like in the 90s when you used to buy cheap leggings and they all bagged out at the knee and never went back into shape. Those were made with 100% cotton, not cotton lycra. This is all my non-stretch fabrics. So in here I have all of my bra tulle and sheer cup lining. So this is sheer cup lining. This is stable, and as the name suggests, it's sheer so you can see through it. And when I say it's stable, it doesn't stretch in either direction. It's completely stable. It has a little bit of mechanical stretch on the bias, and you would use this to line cups and cradles so that they don't stretch and they hold you in appropriately. Generally not used in bralettes, but used in underwired bras. And you can get this in lots of different colours to coordinate with anything you can think of. Again, this should dye. I've actually never tried it, but you should be able to dye it. You can't really just use normal net that you would get from your haberdashery. This is a lot smoother and softer. It usually has one side softer than the other, but this one doesn't. Don't use normal net that you get from your haberdashery unless you like chafing nips. So I have that in purple and I have some here in black. And then bra tulle, which is very similar but much lighter weight, very floaty. Again, it's sheer, but the difference between that and sheer cup lining is that it is stretchy in one direction but not stretchy in the other. So if you're going to use this to make bra cups out of, you have to use 2 layers and lay them in opposite directions so that you get a stable piece using 2 layers. But it's a lot softer and a lot floatier than sheer cup lining, I would say, which is the appeal of this. And I have that also in black and purple. And then I keep bra foam in several different colours. So I have this bra foam, which is in black. You can get this in several different thicknesses as well. So this one is about 2 millimeters thick and quite spongy. So I have black. I have this one, which is black cherry, and this one was from Beware in Sweden. And I also have it in this bright turquoise as well. And the nice thing about having several different colours is that it gives you different effects through laces. So this one, for example, was really good at picking up the detail in my skull lace. Whereas black looked absolutely stunning underneath the acid yellow lace. You can see how stunning that is and how much it picks up the detail in the lace. So having a few different colours of bra foam is useful, and also obviously a beige one is useful. And then a few other bits and pieces in this drawer that I should just get rid of this because I'm probably not going to use it for anything, but it's just a black polyester satin. I've made satin bras before, but the horror story of fraying means that the cups tend to come apart at the seams in the end. And then I have a remnant of rigid lace. I don't tend to work with rigid lace too often, but this one caught my eye, so I can imagine this looking good over like a black cup. Would look quite kind of cool. So I might make a bra out of that as well. So the last thing in these drawers, I have this little stash of bras either to be repaired like this one, and the rest of them are bras that just don't fit me very well. I have kept these to harvest the pieces from. So that's it. I hope you have enjoyed this little tour through my lingerie stash, and if you do have any questions about bra making fabrics or lingerie making fabrics, you can leave me a question in the comments section down below. And if you enjoyed this video, I'd love it if you'd stick around and watch another one, or subscribe, or give me a big thumbs up. Until next time, bye!